This video is review sheet for the Chapter 3 test. I'm going to break it up into two parts. I'm going to break it up into part 1, which is going to be every question but the proofs, and then part 2 will be only proofs. So if you are looking for questions about non-proof questions, then stay with this video. Otherwise, look at the other video. Let's see what we have. First couple questions ask, what additional congruency is needed to prove the triangle is congruent by the given reason? So you have to look for the given reason. So this one we want angle, side angle, and then you have to find it in here. Well, I can see an angle, so I got one of the angles. Good. The side, I don't see any sides marked, but I know reflexive, so there's that. And I need another angle. And they all have to be next to each other. So I got angle, side. That means the angle would have to be up here and up here, which means it's angle ABD being congruent to angle CBD. In 2, I want HL. We just learned HL, which was hypotenuse leg. So I have the right angle, so I got the right triangles. I don't see the hypotenuse or the leg, but wait a second, the reflexive piece again, so there's the leg, so I need the hypotenuse of here and here, so that means AB needs to be congruent to BC. And last but not least, I want side angle side. I see the sides. I notice that this is like a bow tie shape, so those are the angles. Side angle side is here and here, which is BE being congruent to ED. Moving on, question 4, we say altitude. You have to think to yourself, altitude. Remember, we said the T in altitude is like the upside down T for perpendicular, and perpendicular causes right angles, so that's right angles here and here. Ooh, and we know, what about right angles? Right angles equal 90 degrees, so you can set the 12x plus 42 equal to 90 and solve. Minus 42 over 12x is equal to 48, so x equals 4. You want AC. AC is both of these pieces. Well, 4 times 4 is 16. 16 plus 5, that's 21. And then 4 times 6 is 24, minus 1, 23. AC is equal to 21 plus 23, which is 44. So the altitude, you got to make sure you make perpendicular, what then causes right angles. Next is the angle bisector. Angle bisector, just like we did when we learned it in chapter 1, it bisects angles. So look what angle it's bisecting. BD is bisecting the upper angle up here, which means that we could plug 8x plus 2 equal to 2x plus 32. Solve it, minus the 2x over this way. At the same time, minus the 2 the other way. So I get 6x is equal to 30. X equals 5. And then I want AC once again. Well, 5 times 20, 5 times 4 is 20, plus 5 is 25. And then 6 times 5 is 30. 30 minus 1 is 29. So this time AC equals 25 plus 29, which is 54. And last but not least is the same kind of question, but it's a median this time. And a median starts with an M, which means it causes midpoint, we discussed. So hopefully you remember that trick. Midpoint, that means D is the midpoint at the base here. So AC and DC are congruent. So we can set 4x plus 5 equal to 6x minus 1 minus the 4x over, giving me 2x, adding the 1, giving me 6 divided by 2. X ends up equaling 3. And then what do we want here? We want angle ABC. ABC is this angle up here. So I could do 8 times 3 is 24, plus 2 is 26, and then 2 times 3 is 6, plus 32, 38. So then we could get angle ABC would be 26 plus 38, which is 64. Hopefully you've been doing well so far. Question 7. QT is congruent to QR. So this big piece is congruent to here. Then we have M is the midpoint. So midpoint is here and here. P is the midpoint here. Now think about it. I told you to hint to yourself is that when you see two midpoint pieces, you should think of two ideas. What are those two ideas? Like multiples and like divisions. That's correct. So in this case, we want to know what reason would justify that QM, this little piece here, QM, is congruent to QP right here. Well, I want something smaller, and I know the two bigger pieces are congruent here. So the reason for this reason right here would be like divisions, because I need something smaller. The next question says if these two are congruent, so let me redraw this triangle. I got QMP, 1, 2, 3. What is the vertex angle? These two are the congruent pieces. Well, the vertex angle is the angle between the two congruent pieces. So the vertex angle would be angle 1, or naming it as angle Q. The base angles are the two across from the congruent side. So that would be angle 2 and angle 3, or angle M and angle P. You decide. The legs are the congruent sides of an isosceles triangle, so that's MQ and QP. And the base is the one that is not marked, so that's MP. So it's just taking the part around. Question 8, draw the angle bisector to Q. Well, that means from Q, the angle's being bisected. So you decide marking the picture up makes the angle bisector. You forget to put the markings, it's completely wrong. Median means it was in the middle. So I told you to guess where the midpoint is. So it's from R, it has to go to QN. This looks like the midpoint to me. I draw a line connecting them. Still not right until I mark the two markings that those two are congruent. And last but not least, the altitude. This is where you take a line, make it parallel to here, and it needs to be perpendicular to N. So it ends up being over here, and it's outside of the triangle for the altitude from N. Next question. We have the perimeter is 57. We see all three sides, so we can add it all up. I'm going to add it up in pieces. So I got an x squared, I got a 2x, a negative 4x, and a 5x. So this is 5, 6, 7 minus 4. I'm at 3. And then I got 7 and 6, which is 13, and a negative 10, which is positive 3, all equaling 57. Well, I see an x squared here, so I know I need to factor. Before you can factor, it has to equal 0 minus 57 over. So x squared plus 3x minus 54 equals 0. Leading coefficient of 1. Great. Jump right into the answers. What are two numbers that multiply to negative 54 but add to 3? Answers are positive 9 and negative 6. So this answer is negative 9, and this answer is positive 6. When I plug negative 9 back in here, I get negative 45 plus, minus another 10, so I get negative 55. So negative 9 does not work. So x equals 6. Arrange the angles from the least to the greatest. Well, when I plug it in, I get 30 minus 10, so this length is 20. I get 6 times 2 is 12, plus 7 is 19, and then 6 squared is 36, plus another 6, 42, and then I'm minusing 24, 42 minus 24, which makes this side 18. Remember the hand trick. The larger the angle, the larger your hand spread apart. So that's the longer the side. So the larger the angle, the longer the side. So the longest side is here. So the we want to go from least to greatest. So the smallest side is 18. So the smallest angle is angle P, which then is less than, the next is 19. 19 is across from angle R. And the largest side is PR, which means angle N is the largest angle. Classify the triangle by its sides. Well, you look at it. One's 18, one's 19, one's 20. They're all different, so the triangle is scaling. Question 10, find the area of the shaded region bounded by the two circles and the rectangle. So what do we want? We want everything that is shaded in. The only thing we know is that this side is 6. So that means all the way across the circle is 6, which is the diameter, which means that the radius ends up being 3. And if the diameter is 6, it takes 2 diameter to get across the rectangle, so that's 12. So we know that the rectangle's area is 12 by 6, which is equal to 72. The circle's area is the formula pi r squared. R being 3, 3 squared is 9 pi. Leave your answer in terms of pi. But there is not only one circle. There is how many? 2 circles. So one circle is 9 pi. So 2 circles is 9 pi times 2, which is 18 pi. And now what do? We subtract the big answer, which is the big shape, which is the rectangle, minus the small answer, and then add unit squared. Do not combine the 72 and the 18 because that will get the wrong answer. One term has pi, one does not. Question 11. Find x. So we're solving for x. Well, we look at the picture, and what do we know? We know these two angles right here are adjacent, and they're forming a straight angle, so they're supplementary. So 11x minus 4 plus 107 is equal to 180. I can simplify this to 103. Subtract it over. 11x is equal to 77. So x is 7. Let's plug it back in. When I plug in 7 here, I get 49. 7 here, I get 7 times 3 is 21 plus 37, so that's 58. And this angle here is 11 times 7, which is 77 minus 4, which is 73. So the shortest and longest side. We just discussed this 2 previous questions ago. The shortest side is across from the smallest angle. Smallest angle is M, so the shortest side is across from it. So the shortest is RD, which means the longest is across from the 73, which is MD. Classify it by its angles. We'll look at all 3 angles. All 3 angles are less than 90 degrees, so all 3 of them are acute. So it's an acute triangle. Question 12 is kind of tricky. Question 12, you notice that you have statements with an X and a Y, which refers to that means you're going to set up a system. Well, if it's an altitude, causes right angles here, but I don't have anything marked. It's a median, so these 2 are marked. Great. Now I know that X plus 2Y is equal to 40. And now I'm stuck. But what else do I know is that we learned, and I hope you take out of this class, if it's one of the 10 things that you learn, is that a triangle, the line from the vertex to the base, if it is an altitude and a median, if it is both of those things, that means this triangle has to be isosceles. Which then, if this triangle is isosceles, you know if sides, then angles. These 2 angles are congruent. So I can set y equal to x plus 23 for my second equation. I want to simplify it in this term, so I'm going to minus x over. I'm going to rewrite them under each other. This system is awesome because it already cancels the x's out. You get 3y is equal to 63. So y ends up equaling 21. I plug it back in. I'll plug it back in here. I get negative x plus 21 is equal to 23. Minus it over. Negative x equals positive 2 divided by a negative 1. X equals negative 2. Y is 21. And then we want angle ABE. ABE. Well, angle ABE is this. These two are supplement here. So Y was 21. I can do 180 minus 21, and angle ABE is equal to 159. 13. The ratio of lengths of the base of the to the leg of the isosceles triangle is 3 to 2. If you can read that. All right. So what does that mean? Let's draw an isosceles triangle. These two sides are congruent. The base to the leg is 3 to 2. So the base is the 3x. The sides are the 2x. 3x, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got 7x is equal to the perimeter, which is 105. Solve for x, divide it. X ends up equaling 15. The base, find the length of the base. The base is 3x, so that equals 45. 14, we have two triangles. We have triangle PQR, and we have it congruent to triangle STV. These two triangles are congruent. PQ is x squared, SV is 6, ST is x plus 6, and TV is 3 minus x. We know that these two pieces are congruent, so I got x squared is equal to x plus 6. That's all I know. I got an x squared, so I got a factor. Bring these both this way. So I get x squared minus x minus 6 equaling 0. Leading coefficient of 1. Great. So we got negative 6, so we're going to minus and figure out what minus is to multiplies to negative 6, but adds to negative 1. The two numbers are 2 and negative 3. So this answer is negative 2. This answer is 3. Well, let me see when I plug them back in. If I plug in 3 here, I get 3 times 3, which is 0. Can that happen? No, that cannot happen. So because that cannot happen, the positive answer doesn't work. So negative 2 is the only x that works. So x equals negative 2. And then let's plug it back in. This side is 6. 3 minus a negative 2. That's 5 for this side. This side 6. And then negative 2 plus 6 is 4. So the perimeter is 10 plus 5. So the perimeter equals 15. And finally, to finish this up, we have a proof that we do our reasonings for. You look at 15. What do you notice? The word bisector. So it's angle bisector. Definition of 16, you see the same thing written twice. FC is congruent to FC, so this is reflexive. 17, we put it together. We have two angles and a side. If we looked at our picture up here, these two angles would be congruent. Angle 3 was congruent to angle 4, and this side was reflexive, so we got this triangle congruent to this triangle. So we got angle, side, angle, angle, side, angle. 18 has to then be CPCTC because that comes after triangles. 19, we're taking angle AFC, this large angle here. We're subtracting 3 from it to get 5. So this is subtraction. Number 20 is all of these three things together. I see a side, I see an angle, I see a side. So this is side, angle, side. And then once again, CPCTC. There's the lesson all the way up to not doing the proofs. Hopefully that went well for you. That will be about 60% of tomorrow's test.